Ever feel like your mind is playing a dramatic movie inside your head? Like a director who sometimes creates a drama out of a small event. Let's say you spill a coffee on your shirt, and all of a sudden you are a star of a disaster flick. If you find yourself in such kind of situation, this is called as catastrophizing. This is one of the cognitive distortion that most of us usually get involved into due to our mental errors. Now let me be very clear, this video is for information based and it is not a part of a therapy, but it would be a first aid whenever you feel like you are catastrophizing in any event. So let's understand why we catastrophize. So let's go back to our evolution origins, in which our minds are designed to scan the environment for threat to ensure survivals. Now sometimes this negative biases overestimate a small event to be very dangerous. Second reason is our past experience. If we are being exposed to trauma and adversity or repetitive negative experience, then it creates a tendency of expecting the worst in any situation. It can be a learned behavior as well, wherein you have adapted that kind of behavior from your environment or from the role model which has been an influential figure in your life. Maybe it's your father figure, your mother figure, or anybody who has been influential in your formative years. Sometimes it also happens out of anxiety and depression. These conditions often amplify the negative thinking pattern in you. Catastrophizing doesn't happen into a vacuum. It's a complex psychological process rooted in us, and it is shaped by our own experience. Let's explore the map on how we end up into this mental trap of catastrophizing. The first stop on the map of catastrophic thinking would be the triggering event. This can happen with a setback at your work, a conflict into a relationship, or any kind of health issues, which automatically triggers your automatic negative thoughts. It can sound like, I'm a failure, this will never work again, I will be alone. All these negative thoughts, which are part of your conditioning or hypervigilance, will get activated after a triggering event. After the triggering event, our mind catapult into a snowball effect, which is called as cognitive distortion. This would be a learned conditioning in which our mind amplify the negative thoughts, like this would be the worst thing that have ever happened in my life, this will rule everything and I am doomed. In our cognitive distortion, we filter out all the positive information and we restrict ourselves, or we don't consider, ignore totally any information which contradict catastrophic thinking. In this cognitive distortion, we tend to jump to the conclusion without considering is there any other alternatives that we can look at the situation. Then we also over-personalize this particular situation by taking the blame on ourselves, even the fault is not of our own. We also generalize the situation. We believe that this one bad event is a sign of a pattern of failure and misfortune. So this defines the entire cognitive distortion. Eventually, the cognitive distortion leads us to an emotional response. Our catastrophic thought triggers intense emotions of anxiety, fear, or depression. These emotions further fuel our negative thinking patterns, and they create a vicious cycle in which we get trapped. Now, once we have this intense emotional outbursts, they get converted into behavioral impact. Catastrophizing usually lead us to avoidance behavior like procrastination or isolation. It also leads to unhealthy coping mechanism of overeating or substance abuse, or it can very much formulate into self-sabotaging actions. So once you find yourself into this mental trap of catastrophizing, how to break that particular cycle As you have seen, there has been a trigger, there has been a cognitive distortion thinking, there has a kind of an emotional outbreak, a behavioral impact. All this trigger work in a cyclic manner. But how to break that? It can be broken by doing one thing first, that is getting your awareness before and after you are into a catastrophic event. Once you are aware of your catastrophic thinking, the second step is to ask question to your thoughts. Thoughts are actually fueling our emotions. Thoughts paint pictures which are of catastrophic nature or negative in nature, which in turn create an emotional intensity within you. So in order to validate your thought, you have to ask question to those thoughts. You have to ask, is this thought really backed up by facts, and is it really stand true, or do I really have to think about the catastrophic outcome for this particular scenario? Is it really necessary? So once you have challenged your thought with their validation of reality and what is factual, the third step comes about finding an alternative. Now you have to make sure that your alternative is on the spectrum of positivity or more realistic than making it an outcome of your cognitive distortion. So make sure what are the other alternatives that would be there for this particular situation to come out to be an outcome which would be beneficial or maybe most of a realistic part. So once you're able to find an alternative, just to widen your perspective, you can ask one of your trusted friend to get more clarity over the perspective or the option that you're looking forward for. This would widen your horizon in terms of validating what you're thinking or the option that you have thought about. The last step that you can do is practice mindfulness. Now, why I'm saying this? Because once you are aware of your thoughts and challenging them and checking the validity, the last step remains with you is acting accurately. So your behavior has to align with the new form perspective that you have gained, and usually it would be more realistic. So before entering into that realm of executing a behavior, it is highly recommended that you practice mindfulness either by doing breath work. So I have a video which talks about the 464 breath work for instant mindfulness that you can inculcate so that you can practice. So before ending our video, I want you to remember that catastrophizing is a habit, and like any other habit, it takes time and efforts to reduce and regulate that habit. But with practice, the practice that I have mentioned in this particular video, it would make sure that you can catch hold of yourself before getting spiraled in this particular habit and choose more balance and perspective. I hope this video has been helpful for you. And as I told you earlier, this is for awareness and information part. We have our expert team who can really help you and counsel you in this particular catastrophizing cognitive distortion. Okay, thank you for being till the end of this video. I hope this video has been very much helpful. I would encourage you to share with your colleagues, your friends or family member, whoever is in need of this particular cognitive distortion understanding. Please share and subscribe to this channel. We are bringing a lot of videos in our upcoming series of cognitive distortion and how to deal with it. So stay with our channel.